All right, everybody. The TNT review series continues. Scott Golden here, Pro Wrestling Logic TNT review series, Tuesday Night Titan. Series continues here this episode, and we're looking at the June 28th, 1985 edition of TNT. We are just over a year and 2 months or so away from the end of the program, so probably about 40 or 50 more shows to go through. Then we're doing Saturday night's main event, but still a lot of meat on the TNT bone, so to speak. Don Morocco, who is a multi-time former Intercontinental Champion, at this point is out, and he's talking about not getting a fair shot and wanting shots at Hogan and really just wanting to be at his best. And, you know, he wants to beat down anyone he can, how he also wants relaxation. We actually go to Morocco later, and he teaches us how to get a massage and all that stuff. Morocco really is shown to be a very relaxed character, which for a heel is interesting to me. I mean, stereotypically, 60s through the 80s and early 90s, heels were hyped up. And Morocco, while he did have the hyped gear, you really had to get him upset. Other than that, he preferred in promos to be rather chill, at least from a heel perspective. Cowboy Bob Orton up next in a match with Bob Marcus. As one would expect, Orton, who is technically proficient and so good, actually looks forward to eventually going back and being able to watch some of Orton's matches with Bob Backlund from 82, 83 or thereabouts. Because supposedly they had some really good matches, and we will be covering full MSG and Boston Garden and Philly Spectrum and etc. Cards here eventually. But anyway, Cowboy Bob Orton addresses the nature of his relationship with Roddy Piper. Vince tries to stir up issues between Orton and Piper. It doesn't work. Piper, it isn't insinuated, takes a good bit of Orton's money. Orton is completely happy with his situation. Notice that Orton can do everything he wants to do in the ring, and we're going to see that over the next several months, and so he doesn't really get too terribly upset over very much, even though Vince is trying to lay the groundwork for an eventual split. I don't know why, because they don't end up doing it. So then we go to Gama Singh, who is not here very long. Actually talks about the traditional headdress, among other things. Really tries to bring some balance to the nation of India and in Indian culture. Also mentions the Sikh religion, which I can't even imagine many people knew what Sikhs were here in the States in 1985. I mean, maybe there were pockets that did, but I can imagine, because being a Sikh is, at that point, not very common. This is people's first edition or introduction to the Sikh religion at that point. Anyway, he talks about it being something of peace. He talks about being centered and kind of just, really interesting things. He then has a enhancement match with Doc Butler, as is to be expected. Singh does the necessary work to get the win. Relatively early, nondescript match, easily skippable. Singh then introduces his python, which is several feet long, not in the nature of the length or impressiveness of Jake Roberts' snakes that would be introduced a little less than 6 months later. But suffice to say, especially Lord Alfred Hayes, not a fan of the python. B. Brian Blair comes out next. He's not particularly a fan of the python either. He starts to talk about his other interests, including but not limited to collegiate wrestling and kids and all of these things. But he pretty well is not impressed with anybody that isn't himself. He does a really good job, and I almost wonder what his role was going to be, because they end up talking about a kids wrestling tournament in another segment that he's planning, and that it's a multi-year commitment over time, and he plans for it to become a bigger thing. Obviously, this is collegiate style wrestling or high school style, not your pro ranks. He comments on the Python and how he's not particularly comfortable with it. He then wrestles Steve Lombardi, and the majority of the match is on the mat. A lot of clear mat-based holds by Brian Blair, as is to be expected here. Blair does go to the top rope, drops an elbow in order to get the victory, showing diversity. You see a little bit more character from him than normal, almost as if to say that he has kind of beginning to develop a persona that will align with the Bees. Then we see an interview with Muraco and Fuji. Fuji talks about how Muraco has the ability to take a lot of torture, take a lot of pain and punishment, how he is going to put Don Muraco on the next level, how no one can defeat him. I think this is the first mention of some conflicts between him and Ricky Steamboat, which will develop over the next several weeks. And then we go to a Sal Bellomo versus Magnificent Muraco match. Really slow plotting match. But what I find interesting, at least interesting to me at the time, is there are a few, because Bellomo is a well-known and beloved character, he is given more offense against Muraco than is average. He does get at least one near fall pin attempt, and also Muraco uses a version of, and a very safe and deliberate version, but a version nonetheless, of the Tombstone Pile Driver. And then we come back and we close the show with Muraco getting a rub down from multiple lovely ladies, massage, showing how massage is supposed to work, etc. But that is your review for the June 28th edition of TNT. We'll be back with more of these. Like, subscribe, comment below if you are interested in more of this content. And if there's something you'd like to see, comment about that too. Until next time, everybody.